Thom Hartmann here with you, and it's our Middays with Mark show. Congressman Mark Pocan taking your calls. Congressman, you're back with us?
I am.
Okay, great. Bill in Campwood, Texas. You are on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Yeah, this is Bill in Campwood. Thanks for what, for all that y'all do. My complaint is that the DNC just doesn't do enough. Now, I know you might not be able to control that, but I believe they should, every time anybody mentions health care, it should be Medicare for all, and they should pound that, over and over again until it gets through. And you don't see him on TV much. A little bit. Tom had him on the other day, but Tom Perez I've seen occasionally on, but not very often. He needs to go out and get arrested if necessary to get attention. We got to do something, because if we don't, they're going to keep the Senate and the House, I believe.
Congressman?
Yeah, I hear you, Bill. Thanks for your comments. So let me just say this. I think sometimes it's tough for the Democratic National Committee because they don't actually run campaigns. You have the Congressional Campaign Committee for Democrats, you have the Senatorial Committee, you have the individual campaigns themselves, you have the 527 groups. The party, really, their job is, in my opinion, more to provide the overall infrastructure to be in place and to have some of those broader general themes like you mentioned. But, they often get blamed for individual elections when, quite honestly, DNC is one of the last entities that actually is involved with each individual election. Now, having said that, I think, what you bring up about taking those big themes and getting out there and showing what Democrats in a big theme are, they can do that now throughout the time going up to the election, and then individual elections will take on their particular issues. But those top issues that, health care should be considered a right and everyone needs to have access to affordable health insurance, they should be very, very strong on. And I think they're trying that. It's just, as the DNC, sometimes, that's not where the media goes to first for comment. Now, on Medicare for All, if I can just add this, Tom, I think we need to know, I think we're up to now 115 people in the House who are supporting the Medicare for All bill that John Conyers has. It's an all-time high, and it's still increasing every week, and that's because people are out reaching out to their members of Congress and asking them to sign on to the bill, and Bernie Sanders has a similar bill in the Senate. So, I think for people who really care about this as we have this debate on health care, we need to make sure that we're actively calling our members of Congress and asking them to sponsor the bill, because if we can keep this momentum up, it will be a natural part of the conversation on health care, but we've got to keep that pressure up.
Charles in Southgate, California. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Yes, Congressman Pocan, good morning.
Good morning, Charles.
I wanted to ask you about, it's about renewable energy, and I've been hearing about this bill 987, S987, the 5100 plan, and despite political obstacles, what are the possibilities of that becoming reality?
Yeah, well, I think you can't say despite political obstacles, right? Because the reality is, right now the House of Representatives is run by this guy named Paul Ryan, the Senate's run by this guy named Mitch McConnell, and the White House has this occupant, former reality show star Donald Trump. Given all of that, we're going to have an uphill battle on many things when it comes to the environment. We just went through a budget and appropriations process where the Environmental Protection Agency was dinged extremely heavily financially and is not going to be able to do a lot of the work that they did under the Obama administration. So I think we need our aspirational goals, and we need to make the points of why things like solar. I just put 8.5 kilowatts on our house last October. I love paying between $13 and $20 a month for my utility bill. Why all of those things make sense and why those things often create jobs here in the U.S. As opposed to sending all of our money overseas with things like oil. And I think we need to make all those cases, but pragmatically, politically, because that was your question, this is going to be a difficult time to see that happen, but doesn't mean you don't stop working on what you want to get to, and you need to make the case so that we can grow that. And then again, in 18, if people who won't change their ways, you can change their faces, those who represent you. But realistically, we right now are doing our best to stop deep cuts to environmental protection agencies in Congress.
Tom in Portland, Oregon, listening on X-Ray FM. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hey, Congressman, this is Tom. I just wondered if you could address the SHIELD Act, which would harden our grid. I know it seems to be stalled, and I haven't heard much about it recently, and I'd just like to hear what your thoughts on it. Thank you.
Yeah, Tom, I'll be honest. I don't know a lot about it. I've been this week literally immersed till midnight and 11 p.m. several days, all day markups on appropriations. I don't know the status of it, and I just don't want to try to wing it because I don't have that information. I'm sorry.
Okay. Michael in Imperial Beach, California. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Good morning, Tom and Representative Pocan. Okay, Representative Pocan, I wanted to know who is in control of our Middle East policy, because what the news is Trump sent Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, who inherited his father's real estate business when his father went to federal prison. Is Jared Kushner actually in control of our Middle East policy? Thank you, sir.
Michael, great questions that we ask on a regular basis. You would hope that it would be the professionals, right, within the Department of Defense and within intelligence and others who are helping provide that guidance. It does appear that the leading qualification to this White House is that you're the son-in-law of the president, therefore you're an expert on all things, including Middle East policy. So that should worry all of us. The fact that we're not having a White House that listens to the professionals. I think from some of the actions we saw this White House take early on with some bombing in Syria to many, many other levels of activities, I don't know if I could say there is a coherent policy right now we're doing in the Middle East, and if it's really left to just the president's son-in-law, that will make it even less coherent. So, Michael, one of the big concerns we have as well in Washington.
Wow. Mark in Valley, Washington. Mark, you are on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, Congressman. This is back to that BDS bill, and I've not heard anybody talk about this. Let's say it did get passed, wouldn't that set a precedent to where they could expand that to any type of protest?
Well, yeah, you're right, Mark. I mean, if that's starting to be the path of how we do things, you could be any issue that they don't want, they could essentially criminalize speech on, and that is one of the concerns that many have. Let's just face it, this White House already is doing a lot of things in this Congress. I mean, just in the last week, while we were marking up our bills and appropriations, they had a statement condemning UNESCO for something that they did in making Hebron a World Heritage Site. And, they're taking on a lot of different little statements and kind of throwing them into bills that, again, aren't that coherent policy that Michael from California was just asking about. And if you start taking more and more measures, regardless of the subject, and making it harder to be able to speak out about it, you're taking away our constitutional rights, which is our highest level right we should have. So I think should those bills ever come to the floor, those will certainly be the debates. But again, I haven't heard many at all in Congress say that these are the priority bills that they're going to be moving. So generally I'm dealing with whatever I know is coming up, which right now will be budget and appropriation bills. Most in the next week we'll start that with a mini omnibus around defense, MILCON, and Homeland Security, which could include, by the way, funding for the wall, which we have to keep our eye on, Tom, for the next week in the House. In fact, it will likely include funding for the wall. And, the other issues that are coming up around tax reform and some other things, I think that we'll see between July and September.
Rob, listening on Sirius XM in Mountain Iron, Minnesota. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Good day, Tom. Congressman. My question pertains to repeal and replace, where you just stated that many congressmen and many senators are multimillionaires. Isn't this a direct conflict of interest where the senators and congressmen get to be able to vote for this, and the whole thing is they're voting for themselves a tax cut, and they are voting at the same time to kill some of their constituents?
Rob, I wish I could disagree with you at some level, but what you're saying is unfortunately very accurate. I mean, for many of them, this is a tax cut they'll be voting on for themselves and for many people that they know very well that fund their campaigns, and that for many people, this will be essentially a death sentence. If you don't have health insurance and you're sick, with a lot of the people who have these very serious ailments, you will die. So you've said it succinctly, and the problem is how do we make our House of Representatives and our Senate more representative of all of us? And I think a lot's going to fall onto 2018, the fall of 2018, in doing that. But part of what excites me is when I see these candidates that are now looking at running who don't come from a place of wealth or privilege.
Congressman, we're
You're
hitting a
listening
break
to
here.
Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
We'll be right back with more of Congressman Mark Pocan.